Study Session 5, Philosophy and Philosophy of Education. Introduction. In this study session, we will discuss the meaning of philosophy. This session will cover how the word is used both in the ordinary or layman's sense and in the technical sense. We shall also examine the concept of philosophy of education from two perspectives, namely the layman's view and the professional sense. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Present the various ways in which philosophy is interpreted. 2. Outline both the layman's and the technical uses of philosophy of education. The meaning of philosophy. The term philosophy is used by people in diverse ways. You may have used the word yourself on certain occasions to refer to or describe one thing or the other. Moreover, we sometimes ask questions that we can refer to as philosophical, such as, why am I studying this course? For what do I go to school? Is life worth living? What comes after life? In other words, people have some ideas concerning man, life, nature, death, God, right and wrong. These examples and others could be said to represent the popular or the layman's view of philosophy. To a layman, philosophy could mean logical reasoning, proverbial statements, personal attitude to life, belief, parables, adage, idioms, witty sayings, distilled experiences, oracular investigation, and so on. The word philosophy is derived from the Greek words phila and sophia. Phila implies love, while sophia means wisdom. This implies that philosophy can be interpreted as the love of wisdom. This is the most popular Grecian conception of philosophy. This view can be described as the etymological concept of philosophy. Etymology is the study of the origin of derivation of words. This conception may not be strange about philosophy, since even as laypersons we could perceive philosophy in relation to wisdom, and statements which we perceive as containing wisdom or pregnant with intellectual meaning are described as philosophical statements. Are there statements that you too have described as philosophical statements? Can you still remember them? Why do you describe them as being philosophical? If you attempt to discuss these questions with your mates, you are likely to find yourself engaging in a philosophical exercise. However, in this study session, we are more concerned about the technical or academic meaning of philosophy. How is philosophy defined in the technical sense? Philosophy can be described as a method of reflective thinking and reasoned inquiry. It involves the attempt to think through one's problems. It is the careful, systematic thinking about issues concerning life, man, reality, knowledge, values, and so on. Philosophy can be seen as a process where philosophers consider problems and issues in a systematic manner of asking questions, criticizing, analyzing, and synthesizing. Take this hint. Philosophy in the modern sense involves the logical analysis of language and the clarification of the meaning of words and concepts. Philosophy can be thought of as an activity in three modes: the speculative, the prescriptive, and the analytic modes. Speculative philosophy is a way of thinking systematically about everything that exists. The human mind wishes to understand how all the different things around us form some sort of meaningful whole. Speculative philosophy is a search for order and wholeness, applied not to a particular experience but to all experiences and knowledge. Prescriptive philosophy. This seeks to establish standards for assessing values, judging conduct, and appraising art. It examines what we mean by good or bad, right or wrong, and beautiful or ugly. It seeks to discover and to recommend principles for deciding what actions and qualities are most worthwhile and why they should be so. Analytic philosophy focuses on words and meanings. It examines the different meanings which a concept or word carry in different contexts in order to clarify them. At this juncture, it might be of importance to examine who philosophers are. We may describe philosophers as those who seek for the truth and are concerned with criticizing questions and the validity of the answers provided. They have trained and disciplined mind and do subject everything to rational investigation rather than jump into conclusion or take partial or parochial views. In other words, they engage in argument in a critical, logical, and systematic way, trying to validate their conclusions in order to ascertain their coherence and consistency. Philosophers are not limited to a specific profession or discipline. They exist in different disciplines or occupations. For example, St. Augustine and George Berkeley were religious leaders. John Locke was a medical doctor. René Descartes was a scientist mathematician. Karl Marx was a renowned political theorist. And Baruch Spinoza was a lens grinder, while John Dewey and Jones Akinpelu were university teachers. Philosophy of education. As lay people, we sometimes describe the motto of a particular school as the philosophy of education of that school. To us, this presents the principle guiding the establishment of that school and what serves as its guiding principle. Therefore, it is common for teachers, heads or owners of schools to explain the motto of their schools as their philosophy of education. Expressions that are often used are for truth and knowledge, for academic development and character training, not for school but for life, and so on. Also, slogans used by politicians to express programs on education are sometimes described as philosophy of education. A layman could describe philosophy of education as one's personal view on education or the goals or objectives of education. This perhaps will explain why some people will recite the 5 national goals or the national educational goals as contained in the National Policy on Education when they are asked questions on the philosophy of education in Nigeria. In a technical sense, philosophy of education could be described as the application of the knowledge of philosophy to the solution of educational problems, concepts, and theories. Philosophy of education belongs to the category of applied philosophy, just like philosophy of science, history, religion, and so on. Philosophy of education is a hybrid type of applied philosophy. It draws on established branches of philosophy, bringing together their segments which are relevant to the solution of educational problems. Educational philosophy coordinates the findings of the different sciences, just like the general philosophy does, but interprets these findings in relation to education. Theories in the sciences do not carry direct educational implications. They cannot be applied to educational practice without first being examined philosophically. To the professional, philosophy of education could mean a field of rational inquiry in which philosophical methods are applied to the educational issues and problems in a coherent, consistent, and systematic manner. Philosophy of education examines the role of aims in education, as well as schools of philosophy like realism, idealism, pragmatism, naturalism, and so on, and how these schools view the influence, and how these schools view and influence education. Study session summary. In this study session, we explore the concept of philosophy and philosophy of education. We specifically examine these terms from both laymen and professional perspectives.